What is going on, my Frosty friends? My name is Frosty Alpha, and welcome to our Season 4 draft analysis video. I was going to wait on doing this until I got a new microphone, but that's going to be a little while, so I'm too impatient to wait for this, so I'm going to do this now. So, as it is, you guys probably will hear everything that's going on in the background, since this webcam likes to pick up everything that is going on in the background. But today I wanted to bring you guys my Season 4 draft for the RBL, which is the Reddit Battle League. This is going to be a very interesting season. A couple of changes that have been happening since Season 3. There are a few unreturning coaches, as there are every season. But this season we decided to have two leagues. So we had 24 teams, and there is the Rocket League and there is the Flare League. Now, we as the Wartortles, we are in the Flare League. We are in Father Flare, with some great people with like Cap from Cap and Crump, Alex Louis, Season 1 champion, Joey of the Minnesota Eon Twins from Season 2. He is a Season 2 champion. So we definitely have a tough league this year, plus a lot of newcomers as well. So the draft is a UCL style draft format, and we always start with a mega pick, and then 3 OU, 3 UU, 3 RU, 2 NU, and then a wild card round at the end. So as you guys can see to my left here, you guys can already see the team that we have already. So I'm going to just jump right into it. So our first mega round pick, I wanted to pick a mega that was a little bit lower tier because I wanted to be able to get more OU picks in this draft. And so I decided to pick up a really low tier OU tier, very low tier mega. But this mega I picked up is great because it not only has the ability to heal, to be a wall, but it can use healing, wish. It also has wish passing capabilities, and then after Mega Evolution, it becomes a fairy. So I decided to draft Mega Audino this season, who I will be nicknaming Goddess for the entire season. All these nicknames will be the entire season. They won't change up like they did last season, or depending on what it is. So they will get one nickname, and that is it. So, but I'm actually really happy to have Audino. I believe Audino is severely overlooked in a format like this for what it can do and what it is capable of. After Mega Evolution, it has base 126 defenses in both defenses, so it is great for mixed walls, full physical defensive, full special defensive. Like I said, it gets access to Wish, Healing Wish, Heal Bell, Knockoff, Dazzling Gleam. It has Dazzling Gleam for stab. It has 2 immunities in Dragon and Ghost, which are really good to have. So I'm very excited to be able to use it this season, and I think it's going to put in a lot of work and a lot of help for the team this season. Now, OU1, I wanted to get a pick that complemented Mega Audino and something that couldn't be used against me, and the only pick I could think of that really complemented it was this next mon. I'm bringing back Starscream from Season 2. We're gonna have Skarmory again this season. I used it on my championship team in Season 2 of the B League, and it was an amazing wall. It did everything I needed it to do. I know how to use it properly. It's great for not only setting up stealth rocks, it gets access to Brave Bird, it gets access to reliable recovery, it has great physical defenses, it really can eat up everything that it needed to do, plus it resists the stabs that would really hurt Mega Audino. So this thing is going to be just a great complement to the team. And just by having these two, I wanted to really set up my defensive walls this season, because last season I had a problem with keeping reliable walls, and so I was having trouble. People were breaking them down way too easily, and so I was having trouble halfway through the season with keeping Pokemon alive because of that. I'd lose my walls, and then I would lose switch-ins to things. And so this season, I wanted to really make sure that my first 2 picks were really good walls that I could have, and they were able to eat up what I need them to eat up. So OU2, we go down. And so with this, I was a little hesitant on this pick, not because of how good it is, but because I wasn't expecting it to be there. I originally, in the draft plan, had Victini as the draft mon of choice because Victini is very powerful. I wanted some sort of psychic stab because it's just always very useful. It does a lot of damage. Plus, Victini hits like a truck. But once I saw this Mon was still on the board, I couldn't leave it there. There was no way I wanted to plan against it, and so I wanted to use it to my advantage. This also gave me extra options in the UU drafting, which I will get into when we get down to the UU tiers. But this season, I am bringing Versatility, our Mew, to the team this season. The reason I nicknamed it Versatility is because it is versatile. Most versatile Mon in any format. It can do anything you need it to do. Anything. Special Wall, it can do it. Physical Wall, it can do it. Physically offensive, it can do it. Specially offensive, it can do it. Setup Sweeper, it can do it. Scarfer, it can do it. Any role you needed to do, this Mon can do it. Plus, this also gives me a second defogger. I get a defog in Skarmory, and now I have a second possible defog in Mew, which does allow me to not have to run defog on Skarmory or dip into my UU picks to pick up a Rapid Spinner. So this really opened up a lot of options for the UU tier, which is why I wanted to draft this thing over Victini, was because it was so versatile. I could take it any way I needed it to take it. And so it's a real pain to play again, to plan for. And so that's what I wanted, is I wanted a team that looked scary when you looked at it, because it, you know, the first 3 picks, you can look at it, you can see there's a lot of bulk, there's a lot of defensive options, and plus you have this Mon and Mew that is, you don't know what it is. You don't know what it's going to do. Plus, this gave me access to not only another defogger, but to a second stealth rocker as well. So that's what I really wanted. I really wanted to make sure hazards came into play this season. I realized I had trouble with hazards last season, or was setting up my hazards last season, and I wanted to immune that efficiency this season and make sure that my hazards were set up and ready to go. So I'm really happy to have Mew. I've never gotten a chance to use it in any type of format or any type of thing, so I'm really excited to be able to use it this season. I think it's going to really become one of the key members of the team, and it's also going to give my opponents, it's going to make my opponents very scary to have to plan against it, because they're, like I said, it's really hard to plan against when you don't know what kind of variant they're going to be bringing. So from there, we get into OU3. This one, I wasn't too for certain about. I wanted to get some sort of water type. I was thinking about it, or some sort of really good grass type. And I was looking at it, and the options were pretty much like Rotom, Wash, Suicune, and then this Pokemon. And I decided to pick this one because I looked down into the UU tier, and I figured for my first UU pick, I could pick up a really good water type that gets overlooked. So with this one, I wanted to get a grass type, and there's a really good thing in Grass Poison. It makes it really hard to go against. And this one is also very bulky, very physical, gets Regenerator. I'm happy to have Shiitake this season, or Amoonguss. Now, Amoonguss I wanted because it makes it scary, because it does get access to Spore. Spore, guaranteed 100 sleep. It can very well turn something into my favor. And it gets a great move pool. It gets access to stab, not to stab Grass, but also to stab Sludge Bomb. Excuse me. But it gets access to really good stabs. It has great recovery. Plus, I can bring it in, take a hit, switch out, and get Regenerator. It also has Effect Spore, so people have to really be careful when they play against that, so they can't just attack it because they're not sure if it's going to have Regenerator, which most of the time it should have Regenerator, but I might throw it up a little bit and then do Effect Spore just to play around and see how that's going to work. So I'm really interested to see how that is going to play into effect this season. But it's a really great Mon, very bulky, not very fast, but it can take the hits. It can definitely take the hits when I needed to. So my first 4 picks, I was really happy about. A lot of people thought I was going to be drafting bulk again this season, because last season I had a very bulky team. It wasn't very fast, but it had a lot of bulk to it. But with this next few picks, I wanted to immune that. I wanted to immune and make my team very fast after this, and to get great momentum pivots. And so with this next pick, I chose this one in UU because this is the water type I originally wanted for the team. It gets access to great stuff. So this season, I'm going to be bringing Mizukage, our Greninja, to the team. Now, for anybody who does not know, Protean Greninja is banned. You cannot use Protean Greninja. But Torrent Greninja is still allowed. So we put this in the UU tier because Torrent Greninja is still really good. So it will not be Protean. It will have to be Protean. I'm sorry, it cannot be Protean. It will have to be Torrent. But I still think it's going to be really good. It gets access to Stab Scald. It has turning capabilities and getting out with U-turn. It gets great access to a great move pool. Ice Beam. Dark Pulse. It makes it is immune to the psychic type attacks that are Amungus's weakness, and then it can eat up. Amogus can eat up fighting like it's nothing. So I mean, they really complement each other very well. So it's like I can get in, turn out, get into Amogus and take the damage, and then switch that out, and then pretty much you've done almost literally nothing. Or I can get a free spore off depending on the mon I bring in if they have a bad matchup. But I'm really happy to have it. This also gives me another access user to hazards with spikes and toxic spikes. So, like I said, I wanted to make sure I had enough hazards to be able to, so I didn't have to bring one mon who had the hazards all, the entire time. I think it was last season. I think I had 2 mons that could set up hazards. One was Crocodile with rocks, the other was Chestnut with spikes, and that was pretty much my only hazard setters. And I realized without having hazards on the field, it really worked against me. And so I really wanted to immune that this season to make sure I had enough hazards to go around the board to make sure that I could have hazards up at any point in the match. So with that, we get into UU2. With this pick, I wanted a sweeper. I wanted somebody who can come in late game when everything's been worn down, and I wanted somebody who could sweep. I also wanted a fighting type of some type who could get access to Drain Punch for somewhat of reliable recovery. I wanted somebody who was quick, who could also turn out, who could, very well take the match in his favor. And this season, I'm happy to bring Rey Mysterio or Halucha to the team. Now, Halucha I have never used before, but in the videos here, I was learning how to use it, and it just puts in so much amazing work. I can tell you how many times I was on Battle Spot using this thing, and this thing scares so many teams because it can take one hit, and then if I have a berry like a citrus berry, it can pop a citrus berry. Now it gets unburdened. Now it's faster. It gets access to Sword Stance, so a +2 Sword Stance, and then Unburden pops in. It now outspeeds. It now hits twice as hard because Sword Stance doubling its attack. It can sweep a team real quick. Plus, it gets access to, with Citrus Berry gone, it now makes Acrobatics hit even harder. So you can get you can start OHKOing mons that even semi-resist flying, even if they, depending on the range of the Pokemon. So I really wanted a mon who could handle a lot of threats, who can also deal a lot of damage, and could potentially sweep an entire team at the end, once everything's been worn down. Like I said, I wanted to really concentrate on gaining momentum this season, so I chose a lot of mons who gain access to moves that allow them to get in, do small chip damage, get out, get into another play, and pivot out. So pivoting was very big in what I wanted this season. So I'm really happy to have it. I really expect some weird sets and really expect this thing to put in quite the amount of work this season. So now we get into UU3, and at this point I wasn't sure what I wanted for UU3 because I already had a great setup team. I wanted a really good dragon. Problem is to me, a really good dragon is really hard to find outside of OU. Like, there are some, but most of them were already gone at this point. And so I'm looking around the board, and I'm uncertain what to get, and I was thinking about getting Snorlax just because I wasn't sure what to get. And then I look around, and I talk with my assistant coach, Grant, and shoutouts to Grant and TJG who helped me put this draft together. They really helped me decide how I was going to put this all together, and I ran ideas by them both. But Grant gave me this idea, and he was like, hey, dude, why don't we get a dragon this round? And I was like, dude, there isn't a dragon this round. He's like, dude, Goodra's still on the board. And I was like, Goodra's still on the board? And at this point, I was really worried that I wasn't going to get it because I was like, dude, it's round 3. I don't know many people who wouldn't want Goodra at this point. I still had like 6 picks to go before I got there, and so I remember I went to work and I was really scared that I wasn't going to get it. So I told him, I was like, hey dude, get this Pokemon. If not, draft Snorlax. We'll take Snorlax over this, and I want to make sure I have Snorlax this season. So it was I remember at work I went to lunch, and I go to the phone and I call my daughter, and I'm like, hey, check, go to Reddit forums and check the draft thing. Let me know what they did. And luckily enough, we were able to draft Goodra this season, nicknamed Beta Beta no Mi. Anybody who is a One Piece fan will know this one. Beta Beta no Mi, it means the sticky fruit, which is the one that Treble uses from the Dressrosa arc. So I thought there was no name better than Beta Beta no Mi, which stands for, sticky, and it being a Goodra just seemed to fit. So when I run out of things or when I don't know what to name something, I tend to go with a devil fruit type name or some sort of anime name. So this season I decided that devil fruit names were what I was going to go with if I couldn't find a name. But Gudra, an amazing pseudo legendary, straight dragon, ice weakness, yes, but I have resistances in that with other Pokemon who can eat those hits. Assault Vest Gudra can still take this. It's bulky. It's got 80 base speed for a pseudo legendary. It has that amazing 150 special defense stat. It can't take physical hits, but it not only can it do special with its great move pool, but it gets access to Sap Sipper, which makes Grass moves pretty much useless, which is really good to have because if somebody goes off and I bring in Greninja and they go off with a grass type move and I bring in Gudra, its Sap Sipper goes off, gives me an extra attack boost, which is really nice. So it gives me an immunity to grass. But also Gooey is very good as well, since Gooey lowers speed upon physical contact. And that could play very key later on in certain matches. But it has a great move pool. Not only can it go special, but it can go physical as well. It has great physical stats. And so I'm really happy to be able to use it because I really kind of wanted this thing last season, but after drafting Dragonite, I couldn't see a point in drafting 2 dragons. So I really wanted to spread it around, but this season I'm happy that I was able to get a decently high tiered dragon, especially one that has so much versatility like Gudra does. So we go through RU1. Unfortunately, because my Mega is an RU Mega, we lost our RU1 pick just as rules of the draft. If I had picked the OU pick, I would have lost my OU1 pick. So that's why I drafted a lower tier Mon, because there weren't many things in the lower tiers that I wanted. I knew I had no shot of getting Flygon, so I didn't even expect to get it because it went quick, and it always does. So what I wanted in this tier was, I'm not going to lie, I originally wanted Ditto. I wanted Ditto for this next pick because Ditto is one of those mons that can really turn things around. It can reverse sweep a team depending on what you bring it on, and plus it's good for just what it does. It can scout sets, it can look at things, you can see what your opponent has, which is really, really good. And so I really wanted that, but unfortunately 3 turns before I picked, Cap from Captain Crump sniped it from me, and this is actually the only snipe of the entire draft that I had. I pretty much got every other mon I wanted without really getting sniped at all. So this is the only snipe I had, and so I was looking around. I was talking with Grant. I was like, "Hey, dude, we need to pick another pick because Ditto's already gone." I was worried about Miss Magius. Miss Magius has also been taken off the board at this time, so I was really kind of struggling to know what I wanted for this. I knew Electros was going to be gone too. That was actually the first pick of this round 1 was Electros. So I'm sitting here. I'm like, I don't know what to get. And he's like, "Hey, dude, why don't we try to get another, why don't we try to get an electric type with turn?" I was like, "Okay, well, what's out there?" And he's like, "Well, dude, what about Magneton?" I was like, "Okay, Magneton's there." And, we threw around Lantern and all of that. I said, "Hey, it has Volt Absorb, it has Water Absorb. This gives me double immunities, and they're not going to know in case they bring it." And he's like, "Yeah, but Lantern's not all that great." He's like, "But Magneton also gets Magnet Pull." And I was like, "Ooh, I could deal with trapping a Steel type. I could definitely deal with trapping a Steel type." So we decided to pick up GLaDOS this season to Magneton because Magneton is really good. It still has a decent speed tier at 70. It's not the best, but it's something that can be worked with. Has a great 120 special attack. I didn't realize how hard hitting this thing was until I started using it in these battles. But Magneton, I think, is going to bring a different type of variety this season with not only ability to trap Steel types, but also has the Sturdy ability. So it has 2 great abilities which I could switch between. So if I want to, bring in and trap a Steel type that is weak to ground, I can bring Hidden Power Ground with the Choice Specs, and then bring it with Magnet Pull, get it in, Choice Specs it, Hidden Power Ground it, and then if it's full weak to it, then I can at least weaken it with using Magneton, which I think will be a great thing for that. Plus, it also gives me access to another Volt Turner. This actually gives me access to semi-slow Volt Turn, unless I decide to Scarf it, which would be really good for the team, because sometimes it'll need to take a hit, and I'll need to Volt Turn out, and then get into the mon I need to get in to gain momentum. So sometimes slow Volt Turn is not a bad thing, depending on what's going on in the match. So, but GLaDOS is going to be here for us this season. I'm really happy to have it. I didn't realize, like I said, I didn't realize how hard it hits until I started using it in these battle spot battles that you guys see above me. So next we get into RU3. I'm still uncertain exactly what I want. There wasn't much to go around. I was like, okay, well, let's get an actual rock type. I could definitely use rock type. And so I'm looking around the board, and the only thing that really caught my eye was our next mon, which is Regirock. Regirock has not been a very great mon in past formats, just because so much fighting goes around that it's easy to plan for, and straight water spam and all of that is a very common occurrence. But Regirock offers a lot. It offers another Thunder Waver, a Stealth Rock Setter, Stab Rock Stabs. It also gets access to Drain Punch and a couple other things. And I think it could really have some really weird sets to run this season. So I'm really kind of unsure about how I want to run it or how it's going to fit onto the team. But it has that really great 200 defense stat with the 100 special defense, so you could very easily run a special defense nature with an assault vest, and then it becomes very hard to kill with very high defenses. And so I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out this season, or if that it will be a thing this season. But I do know that this. I was really kind of uncertain at this point. I was just kind of grasping at an RU straw because I didn't know exactly what I wanted. One I was thinking about was Dugtrio. Now looking at it, I think Dugtrio would have been a good pick as well. And this one, having dual trappers would have been really, really good. But unfortunately, I decided Regirock was kind of maybe a better fit for the team. This season, I'm going to name him Ishi no Mi, which stands for the Stone Devil Fruit, which is one that Pika uses also from the Dressrosa arc of One Piece. So I figured as he's a big rock, naming him the Stone Fruit would probably be the best thing for it. So from here, we start our NU picks, and at this point in NU, I have no idea what I want. I'm not even going to lie. I was literally going with Grant. I was like, hey, dude, what about this mon? What about this mon? What about this one? What about this mon? What about this? Like, I think we ran through like 20 mons before we finally came up with a semi-pick at this point. And at this point, we were having an ice weakness problem. So as you can see, I had at this point some decent mons weak to ice, so I needed to immune some of this ice weakness. And so we were going around, and I was like, dude, I wish I could get Mamoswine. It would be really nice. You know, he gets that thick fat ability, and he's like, well, hey, dude, why don't we get Piloswine? I was like, Piloswine? He's like, yeah. He says it's the unevolved form of Mamoswine. It's the second evolved form. I was like, well, you know, I was like, you know, it's not, I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure. And I started looking at it, I'm like, Piloswine gets every ability and every move that Mamoswine gets. And I was like, this basically becomes a mini Mamoswine. It just doesn't hit as hard. And I started looking at it, and I realized that its defenses don't change. When it goes from Piloswine to Mamoswine, its defenses stay the same. It stays at 80-60 or 60-80 or 80-80, I think is what it actually sits at in both defenses. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I start looking at it, I'm like, dude, if I throw an EV Light on this thing could be really hard to kill because its defenses then are 1.5. So if it goes from 80-80, it goes to 120-120, which makes it, you know, decently tanky with also being very hard hitting. This also gave me another Stealth Rocker, which Regirock also gave me another Stealth Rock. So now I have 4 options for Stealth Rocks. This gave me Priority and Ice Shard. And that's what I was like, you know what, the dragons run rampant around here, and having Priority Ice Shard could definitely make the difference between a match. This gave me Stab Earthquake. It gave me Icicle Crash. It gave me Stone Edge, Superpower. It gave me actually quite a diverse move pool. And I was like, okay. Plus, it gave me Thick Fat, and I was like, okay, I think we can pull this off. I think we can do this. Let's pull the trigger, and let's shock everybody by picking up something different. So we pulled up, and we picked up Piloswine this season, nicknamed Snuffleupagus. I love the nickname Snuffleupagus. Unfortunately, I can't spell it fully because there's 2 F's in Snuffleupagus, but unfortunately, you're only allowed 12 letters. But Snuffleupagus, like I said, I think it's going to be a great addition. I think it's going to be one of those overlooked mons that people overlook because it's so low tier and it's not a fully evolved form. But I think it can still put in great work this season. Like I said, Priority Ice Shard is very scary to look at, especially because it still has that great 100 attack stat. which is, it's not great. It's not fully great as its fully evolved form, but it's still a decent attack stat and can be definitely worked with. So from there we get into NU2, and I'm still at this point, I'm still throwing mons out. We still go through like another 15 mons, and finally one that I threw out in the beginning when I was looking at it, I was like, dude, I need a fire type. At this point, I had no fire type. I pretty much was just relying on fire type coverage moves. And I'm like, dude, we need fire type. I need some sort of fire type that has been overlooked. And so I'm looking at it, and I remembered this mon because I threw it out in the first round, and I was like, hey, dude, we can get this. He's like, no, I think Mammoth Swine would be better to get before. And so we look at it, and he's like, dude, I think we could work with this, and we should definitely try to snag this before somebody else sees it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we definitely did try to get it. So for our last NU pick, we picked up Igneel, our Charizard. Now, this is not Mega Charizard. Mega Charizard X, Mega Charizard Y are OU tier picks. But regular Charizard is an NU pick. But most people forget that regular Charizard gets access to every move that Charizard Y and Charizard X get, because it's the base evolutionary form of what it gets. So this thing can be physical. It can set up dragon dances. It can go earthquake, dragon claw, or I can go special and go flamethrower, air slash, hidden power, solar beam. This thing can do quite a bit. The 4 times rock weakness does scare me. I'm not going to lie, it does scare me. But I have 3 potential is it 3 or 2? 2 potential I have 2 defoggers at this point, and I believe no, I don't have. Okay, so I have 2 defoggers at this point, and I have ways of removing hazards from my field. So the 4 times rock weakness does scare me a little bit, but it is something that can be worked around. So I could definitely work around things, and I could definitely get through things. So I am very happy to have Charizard. If you guys don't know, Charizard is one of my favorite mons. If not it is my favorite mon of all time. I remember when I first started playing Red, the original Red on Game Boy, Charmander was the first Pokemon I ever chose. So it holds a special place in my heart, and I'm happy to have it this season. Like I said, it is not its Mega Evolved forms, so me and Grant will have to get creative with the sets that we run with it. But it can definitely put in work should we put in the work. Plus, it also gets reliable recovery and roost, which is always nice. So I'm happy to have Igneel this season. If you guys don't know, if you guys have seen Samararo's build, he chose all fairy tale names. So his Druddigan is named Igneel, and I yelled at him. I was like, dude, Igneel is a fire dragon. I was like, I said my Charizard is a fire dragon. So there's going to be big beefs between Sam and myself this season because we both have something named Igneel. Not gonna lie, hashtag Wartortle Igneel. Yeah, I went there. So so we go back into we get into the final round. It's a wild card round, and at this point I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's still a mon I wanted. I still wanted this mon because I only barely got to use it last season, so it's the only one I wanted to have come back from season 2 because I try not to bring mons back. And plus, this also gave me another great ice resistance and a great fire resist, and this was just something I wanted in a thick fat user. And so with this wild card pick, I decided to come back and grab Totoro, our Snorlax, this season. People who were following me last season or were in the RBL last season know that this thing put in work last season. I had it for I think 4 matches, and he ended up being like 10-1 in 4 matches. He 5-0 swept. He pretty much 5-0'd Jay, who was our assistant coach in the Flintropius last season, and he also 5-0'd Sem because of a miss gen on one of his mons from last season. So he had pretty much no counters. It's really hard to counter this thing once it sets up. It has a great diverse move pool. I remember in the finals in the quarterfinals I was trying to catch Grant and his Charizard off guard by running Earthquake instead of Body Slam. Unfortunately it revealed Earthquake a little too early due to rest talk, or due to sleep talk, but as it is, it would have done a great thing should he had Mega Evolved it, and then I would have gotten an Earthquake off. It would have one-shot his Charizard at +2. and then he would have had nothing to pretty much touch it at that point, other than Cobalion. But I could have gotten in, done a small chip damage on Cobalion to pop the balloon, and then gotten around it. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. Should have probably gone Body Slam instead, but to each their own. Can't do anything about it now. But I am happy to have Totoro back this season. And Snorlax, I believe, is still going to put in quite a bit of work. Also, Choice Banded Snorlax is nothing to scoff at either. It can definitely hit hard with Choice Bands. So I'm happy to have it this season. And that is it. That is our Golden State Wartortle Season 4 team. Our first week is going to be June 5th, which I will be bringing you guys our first week's battle, which I believe is against Mighty Quinn, 6:30. So I'm definitely got to prep for that team. His team looks quite scary. He has some great offensive threats there that I need to make sure I put in check. So as it is, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you guys did, as always, please like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Actually, I just realized as I'm looking at this now, it says my Twitter is @FrostyAlpha, but it's actually @FrostyPokemans. But if you search Frosty Alpha, you'll find me. It is Pokemans is the actual Twitter there. So follow me on Twitter, and you guys will get updated anytime I upload a video. So hope you guys have a great day as always. And remember, stay frosty, my friends, all right?